Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 36th episode of the Londonderry View. And we can't even believe when we say that there have been 36. I guess it's not part of the Hurricane Michael that's has taken place in other parts of the country and along the Florida coast. But as we were all blowing in here now for tonight's show, definitely it's some of the oddest rain and winds and everything right here in Londonderry. So if we look a little windblown and tattered, it's really quite windy and rainy out there. So, but we're happy to be here. Tonight we want to dedicate our show, one to our guest, Julie Huss, is here with us again, which a popular request actually, because so many of you, really for the first time, kind of contacted us and said, one, how nice it was to have Julie because she covers so many wonderful, good happenings in all of our communities, all throughout southern New Hampshire. Nice. Very, just always the good and the positive, and also so many people commented on the fact that you have an amazing, beautiful singing voice that they weren't aware of. So made us feel good to kind of share in that. And really nice. Yeah, it was truly beautiful.
Well, yeah, thank you. That's very nice.
So she does so much at the coming to the senior center, taking the pictures of everything. Gosh. Covering everything going on.
Bonnie, you're
over
right.
there.
Yeah.
Because, and it gets into the papers and it works
question of the
nice.
week. You're always so
Oh,
good.
yeah, the question of the week.
I have Bonnie's picture on file. I can just pull it up whenever I want.
But it's pretty wonderful, and you're always good spur of the moment too.
Right.
Like even this, this show was an idea that came to be a month or so ago, and when you put it on the calendar, you always are where you say you're going to be, and we love you for that. So you do a lot for the community.
I am happy to be here.
And tonight we really had decided that we wanted to do this show. It's really the end of October now that we're doing, kind of the mid-October that we're doing this show, but we wanted to make sure the show was ready to celebrate and to honor and dedicate the show to Veterans Day. And actually Julie kind of came up with that at the end of the last show, and we thought it'd be a nice way to honor all of our vets. So
we all have special veterans in our life.
Yes.
Past, present, and it's
and future ones.
Future ones as well. You're right.
Boy, that's so true too. And we thought that maybe we'll talk about some other topics. We always debate, should we have kind of hot topics in the beginning or filter them through. So we're just going to kind of roll with it tonight. Our Kathy and our Kirby couldn't be with us tonight, unexpected things. Cute little thing. Charlie is Charlie is almost 2, and he's in a celebration at his preschool. Pumpkin patches. I heard he's going to be dressed as a pumpkin. So, but yeah, maybe we can get some pictures of that for the next one too. But most importantly tonight, Bonnie, you had a wonderful opening for us of what does Veterans Day mean, and if you wouldn't mind reading that, I think that would be really nice.
Okay, so bear with me. I don't like reading, but I will do this.
Thank you.
Did you ever wonder why Veterans Day is on the 11th and does not change?
Oh, yeah, always.
World War I ended on the 11th month of the 11th day on the 11th hour.
My goodness.
Today I saw a man selling poppies stop a lady and ask if he could reposition her poppy. While doing so, he told the lady she should wear the poppy on her right side. The red represents the blood of all those who gave their lives. The black represents the mourning of those who didn't have their life, who didn't return home. And the green leaf represents the grass and crops growing and future prosperity after the war destroyed so much. Wow. The leaf should be positioned at 11 o'clock to represent the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And that is something I never knew that.
I never knew the poppy position.
No,
Yeah.
I never did either.
And the person that wrote this was worried that young generations wouldn't understand this, and his generation wouldn't be around much longer to teach them. And it is quite a thing. I mean, even at my age, I didn't even know what the poppy, how it really represented all that.
No, and I never understood. You'd see, the veterans out there, just asking for a donation and giving you a poppy, and I never understood where the poppy idea
No,
came
and,
from. the
and where
meaning
you're
of it.
supposed to position
Never
it,
on
and
the
what
right.
it actually
Right.
means, so it's going to have a different meaning to a lot of people when they go and give for the poppy.
Oh my goodness.
And now you're going to be thinking, oh wow, the red is the blood, the black for the
is that-
people that didn't return.
And the poppy, I think, I could be wrong, isn't that kind of came from the famous Flanders Fields where they wrote that poem, remember? Flanders Fields where poppies grow.
Oh, maybe.
It's a kind of a
think
famous
so.
poem.
It is,
I just
yes.
figured there was
Yeah.
a poppy connection maybe with
I
that.
think you're right.
Yeah.
But I never knew.
Flanders
I never knew
Fields,
about
and
the
yes.
symbolism of how you should wear it. That's very
Right.
interesting. Wow.
I mean, for myself, my husband was in the Army. My son was in the Army. And my grandson in the Marines. And now I have a young grandson that I'm going to boot camp to see his graduation from the Navy next week. I mean, it's amazing.
And
My
your
husband
family,
started this
4.
all.
The legacy.
And they just followed through. And my son, my grandson Matthew, and my grandson Mark, it's something they always wanted to do.
Where did your husband serve?
He served in Vietnam.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
served in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Did he share a lot of things with you? How was that for his generation? Did he
yeah,
share stories at
no.
all?
No, not much.
They really didn't
I
talk
don't think
about
they
it.
did.
They,
I don't know. I think you're right. The older generation, they didn't.
No.
And I suppose we all maybe
Even the
wish now we
younger-
would have heard more
Yeah.
from our.
Because even the kids that are coming back from Afghanistan and everything, they don't want to talk about
Yeah.
what went on over there
and what they're seeing.
and what they're seeing and all that. They just want to block that right.
read
out.
out and
And you never, and everybody, if you think of all the veterans how many they talk about being proud that they served and they fought for the country, but never said, oh, I remember this, and
No, it's
things
very-
that it's very kept down.
Yeah.
They don't want to remember all
like
that.
in Derry, there aren't many World War II veterans anywhere anymore, probably. But Mr. Borowski, Walter Borowski, lived in Derry, and we did a story on him once. And he was at D-Day. He was those. If you watch that movie, Saving Private Ryan,
Right.
Yeah.
that's what he did.
Wow.
And when I first met him, he's like this decorated Army Ranger, but all he wanted to talk about was his garden.
Yeah.
And I'm there, and we're all there like, tell us what it was like. But he just wanted to show us his garden. He was a
Yeah.
simple man, and he saw terrible things, but
No, they
didn't
close
want to
their
discuss
eyes
them.
to it
that's
when
all
they come back.
yeah, he was very proud, but he didn't share a whole lot.
No, and most of them don't. If you
Yeah.
think about the ones that they never really talk
no,
about.
they don't. No, and it has to be so hard for them because, like so many things in life, unless we actually walk in somebody else's shoes, we have no idea.
No. Yeah.
And what they've seen, what he saw, Julie, right, and
Yeah.
experienced, and friends next to him that were probably killed.
Right.
And
It was like-
know,
Because I remember before we did the interview with him, our town historian at the time, Richard Holmes,
Oh, great
he
man.
said, watch that movie, Saving Private Ryan, and that's what he did. And it was like, wow,
Yeah.
that was really something.
my goodness.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was a delightful man though.
and you had someone that served.
Oh, my dad.
Yeah.
My dad was in World War II in the Navy. He didn't, now at my ripe old age of 60, I wish I would have just asked him more questions, but because sitting with your dad growing up, you're not asking your dad questions about the war.
Right.
But I'm lucky I have a scrapbook of a lot of photos, and
Was that his scrapbook,
this
Julie?
was his scrapbook, his souvenir of Hawaii, and he wrote everywhere that he went. In the 1940s, he was all over the place. He was on a transport ship, I believe, and he was one of 6 brothers, and there were 4 of the brothers that were in the service at the same time.
Wow.
4
So,
of the
yeah,
brothers.
so-
Wow.
And I was looking in this. Well, then he's got the hula girls.
There are
the
hula girls.
soldiers.
I can see
But
hula.
he's got a lot of
Look at
pictures of
that.
like family pictures in his
Maybe
uniform.
we could put
and-
some up too.
Yeah.
But I
because-
found this, I hope you don't mind if I just
No.
read a, this is kind of neat. I just found this in a scrapbook when my grandmother, when she died, she was the mother of 4 sons that were in the service, including my dad. And there was like I just found this in here. There was a clipping after she died, because they were still serving overseas when she died. It was 1944, I believe. But she wrote a letter to my uncle, wasn't my Uncle Howard, and they put it in the local
They
newspaper.
put it in the local. Wow.
Yeah, and she's like, she wrote this, and it just says, I won't read it all, but please, son, be a good, true soldier. Obey your orders, no matter how hard it is to do so. And trust in God to bring you safely through every day and night. Mother will be thinking and praying for you and the rest of your comrades. Remember the dear old Stars and Stripes. Set your determination to save it, that our dear old America shall be the home of the brave and the land of the free. And don't worry about home. Let us do the worrying. Be brave and loyal and never give up. Maybe it won't be so long. Just forget these last couple months' troubles and think of the future and fight to win.
Wow.
I mean, that's what an
beautiful.
attitude
Julie,
of
yeah.
that of
Oh
those
my God,
families.
Of a strong
Yeah.
mom and a strong
And-
family, and
Just to be a mother and have to say, like, and you
Yeah.
know, to have, your children and your husband serving and worrying and what they're going to be going
My
through.
God,
But,
4
must be.
children.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was kind of neat. I found that in there.
Yeah.
And
that
what
is
paper
neat.
would that have been?
This
Like,
was in
what's-
my hometown. They had a little, Montgomery, Pennsylvania. They had a little hometown paper. And I have her obituary, too. 4-star mother dies. She died in,
4-star mother.
Wow.
yeah,
What was her name? Say it.
Hetty.
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 Yep, that was her first name, and then my
To Hetty.
dad, and yeah, my grandmother. I never met her. She died, like I said, in 1944. So yeah, but I guess she was quite a woman. She had 9 children total,
9, my goodness.
and then all the boys. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So that's my
Wonderful.
veteran story. I'm glad I have this souvenir for
My
my dad and
goodness.
his many photos.
Wow.
Yep, you'll have to
Family
send some
and-
Oh,
photos
that's
to Erin,
beautiful, though,
Yeah.
when
so
you
she
think
can
of
put
it.
'em up
My
on the
goodness.
board.
Kind of funny, but it's great. And
Yeah.
I love the fact that he wrote everything down where he
Yeah,
went.
that's amazing.
And in his handwriting
Yep.
too, like just
Yeah.
look at the way the printing, how
Japan,
neat.
yep.
And
He was
I think
all
I see
over.
Spain in there.
Uh,
Did I see? Or
No, I think he's going the other direction. Let's
Oh.
see, Saipan, Pearl Harbor,
Saipan it
Guadalcanal,
is, upside
Palau,
down.
Guam. Yeah, he was over in South Pacific for quite a while, so
My goodness.
that's a special thing I have.
I guess so.
No.
That's
Did you? Yeah,
quite
that
a
is
thing.
really is with all of that. My goodness.
But I just remember sitting, growing up and just sitting there with my dad.
Mm.
I'm like, I mean, I knew he was in the Navy, and I knew he was on a ship, and I knew this and that, but I don't know. I guess the older you get, you wish maybe you knew just
You
a
know.
little
Yeah,
more.
that's what it is. As we get older,
yeah.
we think of that.
You wish you could ask.
Yeah.
And, kind of on a different note, but similar. I don't know if either of you watched. There's a new show on called This Is Us, and
Oh.
it's very much about family life and realities, and that we're just perfectly imperfect. And just last night the episode was about that the dad who was passed in the show. He served in Vietnam, and he lost his brother there. And it pretty much just what you're saying, Julie. Like he came home, he never talked about it, didn't,
they
And then now it's showing clips of the misery and the horror and what he saw. And his son is saying, and who's now a grown man, and saying, why didn't I ever ask him while he was here about what it was like over there? Your fears. What did you do? Or thank him for serving. So that. But it was pretty powerful. It's that type of a show that gets you thinking. And with so many of them, you wish that you could, that you could go back and try. And my family is a little different because my family is so very small. I don't have any brothers and sisters. Both of my parents were from Canada, but my dad, George Noble Cummings, served in the Canadian Air Force. So, and he was a great man. He would say it was during more of peacetime.
that your
And yeah, this is a
He's a
picture of my
handsome
dad.
man.
He
Look
was,
at that.
yeah, there's George Noble Cummings.
He's
He's very handsome.
Yeah, and he was a good man too. You know, he was always, I loved Londonderry, and then New Hampshire came from Canada and somehow picked this area, which is, you know, kind of fascinating. And then remember in one of our other shows, we talked about how he somehow picked Londonderry where there was nothing really here. And yet then later we found that the Morrison House and all that were his ancestors from the 1700s, which he'll never know, of course, you know. But yeah, great man, and, you know, was very happy to serve, you know, the best that he could to serve our country by serving Canada, who did try to help. And then we have a dear family friend, you know, you always know I talk about and write about, our Dr. Bart Coronelli, who you were all chosen family together and have been together many years. And Bart, like, his history of serving is just phenomenal. Korean War, a medic, and he'll even tell stories of before that there was some type of a program when he was 14, because of course it's not like today where everything's on your phones and your true age and all. And he so wanted to serve our country that at 14 he was, you know, kind of not quite putting all the information down, and they took him in, and he was serving our country at that age, you know, and what he saw as he served, you know, and the people and the problems. And but you know, it's never, none of these good men and women ever are complaining. They're proud to say that we served, you know, and they don't want to talk about how bad it was. It's but what an honor that they were
all
there.
wear the hats. They're all proud. They really
so
are.
Proud. And you know, it's funny because literally driving here, you know, and we see Bart all the time, and I was like, Bart, you know, so tell me, a Korean, and I didn't know that he had 4 medals that he got for different things, and that in South Korea, I'm learning, you know, sad, I'm learning it as I'm driving up here, that the South Korean Prime Minister actually issued to all the men and women them special medals to thank them for coming over to help and save their country, which, you know, and I'm thinking, how do, you know, we see these medals in his home, but, you know, you don't know in the pictures, and so, but we'll get all these pictures up on the blue screen thanks to Aaron and Al and Drew and Leah, so that we can, you know, so you can see these people that we love. And then John's family, you know, more, you know, loves in Londonderry now, but from New York City, so serving in a different way, police officers, you know, 9/11 firefighters, and an Uncle Frank who was at Normandy, you know, and we never taught, but he was one of those lines that, you know, they were all being gunned down, and Uncle
Probably like Mr. Borowski.
Yes,
He's
just
probably
like
the
that.
Rangers. That's I can't imagine.
No, you know, and his
going
wife,
through that.
I can't even, you know, and his wife described after he was gone that, you know, you're getting off the boats and it's your turn, and you're stepping over bodies of friends and comrades to, you know, to take your turn. And Frank, you know, Uncle Frank was one of the luckiest ones, one of the luckier ones, never talked about it, never complained, you know, and went on with life. And all of these people too raised good, strong families, you know, and put their families and our country first, and God, you know, too, in many ways, you know, so, you know, but that, so my story's a little different, but,
That's great.
you know,
He's
when
a
you
very
think
handsome
about
soldier.
it, hey, thank you. He was a good man. Thank you, Julie, you
You're
know,
welcome.
so,
So's your husband.
yeah. And you know, one thing too, I noticed that one, Bonnie emailed me that picture. I thought, wow, what a handsome, well, and then
soldiers.
Matthew, your grandson, very handsome, and you've got a handsome group, you know, it's all these good people. But, you know, and then I guess the next thing maybe we want to think about here, and a shout out to Katie Sullivan, because she's thought of this a long time before we're sitting here now. But the one, like, what do we do to not forget these men and women, and to honor them, and to say thank you, thank you, thank you, and again, you know, thank you. But one thing Bart did say too a while ago was that being at Home Depot and all, he has it on his license plate, and he said when people came home from the war years ago, and sadly Vietnam, so sad what we did to those men and women, but, and then even with the Korean War, it was like kind of quiet, there were no applause, there wasn't a whole lot, but he, you know, lately he said around town that everyone who notices his license plate, or if he's getting a little, you know, a little this or that it's thank you for serving, and how much it means to him, and he'll tell us, or try to tell us, you know, to appreciate the person each time, you know, so I guess, you know, that's something we can do. And then Katie Sullivan, you know, you know,
She's great.
She is. We were just at the little 5th grade race where the 3 5th grade classes are running it. We stopped over yesterday, and there's Katie. You know, I mean, I don't know how she is at everything, cheering. You know, the greatest Londonderry, you know, cheerleader ever. But you know, and of course, what she started, I don't know, we're on year 6 or 7, and I'm probably way off. But the Pay It Forward Club.
That's a great club.
Oh my gosh! And,
my grandson was in that, Ryan.
Oh, that's right
Yeah,
too, Bonnie.
Brian,
How
he
many
was
years
in
do you
that.
think it would be then?
Well,
Time seems to stop for me.
He's in his 3rd year of college already.
Right. So
So
That's a
it
good
had to
point.
be 4, 5, 6
at
years
least, right?
ago.
So maybe this would be the 7th then.
Yeah, because
you
he
know?
was in it. He loved that group.
Boy, you know.
You know, they do a lot.
They do, that veterans
And you
breakfast
cover
they
it
do
all,
is
which
great.
Yeah.
yeah, and you know, and a little shout out about that too. The Veterans Breakfast. I think of it as being on the 11th, especially now after we talked. But actually, this year it's on November 10th, and it's in the cafeteria of the high school. And breakfast is served to all the veterans and family members. You know, and you can still contact Katie and the Pay It Forward group if you know somebody that isn't going. Starts at 8. It's a beautiful tribute and ceremony.
Very
all you know.
nice.
Oh, it's quite. The breakfast is gourmet, lovely, and then each and every veteran there is recognized. They'll say like Marines stand up, the Air Force stand up,
Yeah.
and they all get in one of the Pay It Forward students will walk over the basket and thank and hand to each of the veterans that are there.
That's
and,
amazing.
And you know, if you know a veteran that isn't going, take them, get them there, because
Right.
it's one small, big way, but that we can say thank you, and just seeing the veterans looking at these students that are just there for them is, Bart went for the first time a few years ago, and he was a doctor, and he stood up, and he actually got very teary because of people applauding for his group and the thank yous and the celebration. And then on the common, there's our American Legion, which we can't thank enough too.
Right.
They do a beautiful ceremony to recognize again all of the men and women
And
who
that's the
serve.
same day?
Same day, right after. Yep.
See,
8
that's-
o'clock. Yep.
And the date again, did you
It's
say?
thank you, but it's November 10th at 8 o'clock.
That's
Yeah.
a Saturday,
It's a
right?
Saturday. Yeah.
That's right, because Veterans Day is on a Sunday.
Right,
Yeah,
and
it is.
another one I shot out an email just a short time ago, thinking the 11th, and then Katie reminded me Saturday. So
That's a good thing.
yeah, and if
So
everybody-
any
yeah.
veterans out there,
Absolutely, definitely.
make your way over there.
Yeah.
Do they have to call ahead or?
They're all so good about it that I think even down to the wire, like a few days before last year, there were.
Yeah.
So try to email. Just call the high school. They'll direct you to Katie or to the students that are involved. And it's a big group, Bonnie, right?
Yeah, it was
it's a
good.
lot of
Yeah.
students that are
It was
involved
something
with
I
it.
never heard of it until
Yeah.
he's the one who told me, because I seen his picture in the paper. I said, and he said, he's been in it in high
And
school.
involved,
Yeah.
So that's one thing that help us spread the word about that. And
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Anything else we can think of with
Well,
it?
you have something that was kind of a little bit interesting.
Yeah, we were all just trying to think about different things to make us more aware of Veterans Day, and one even just thanking Dwight D. Eisenhower, because he was really the president that in 1954 kind of switched things over to call it Veterans Day. Because Julie, you say it better than me. Armistice Day.
Armistice Day.
Armistice Day was
It's a
it's a mouthful.
Yeah.
And he made the decision to switch to Veterans Day, and with the heartfelt feeling that to not only remember those who have passed, but those who are now serving,
Right.
and that's what that we have to keep in mind too. And then about the 11th a little bit, but the next part was that kind of surprised us all was just the military men and women who serve and protect the U.S. come from all walks of life. They are parents, children, grandparents, friends, neighbors, and co-workers, and are an important part of their communities. Here are some facts about the veteran population of the United States. 16.1 million living veterans served during at least one war. 16.1 million. 5.2 million veterans served in peacetime. 2 million veterans are women, and that number is growing by leaps and bounds. 7 million veterans served during the Vietnam War. 5.5 million veterans served during the Persian Gulf War. Of the 16 million Americans who served during World War II, about 558,000 are still alive.
Wow.
That's quite a number when
Yeah,
you.
that is.
2 million veterans served during the Korean War. 6 million veterans served in peacetime then. As of 2014, 2.9 million veterans are still, in touch with our services, and sadly, because of injuries, are, unable to work and having difficulties, and we need to support them in every way we can. As of 2014, 3 states have more than 1 million veterans among their population: California, Florida, and Texas. And this is kind of interesting. The VA healthcare system had 54 hospitals in 1930. Since then, it has expanded to include 171 medical centers and outpatient centers and outreach clinics to help our veterans, and nursing homes, even 126. So, just kind of gives you a number of the vastness of our veterans and who they are, and how often we're passing them on the street and have no idea, But yeah,
Very
so
true.
That's
kind of gets you thinking a little
it's
bit,
quite a thing.
and yeah.
And it's amazing. I mean, times ago they were drafted, so
just
they
thinking
didn't
that.
have a choice.
Right.
But all these kids that are going in now,
Good point, Bonnie.
they have
That's
a
right.
choice
Yeah.
when they want to fight or be in the service and protecting our country.
That's very true.
Yeah, protecting
And they're
all of them.
and they're not obligated to do it.
That's a very good point. We
You
shouldn't
know?
forget that.
Yeah.
That's true. They're
Yeah,
making
they're
the
right.
I remember when they were drafted, sitting
Yeah.
at home when I was little, and it would come on like the television. The numbers would come up, and
Yeah.
my mother would sit there and think of her birthdays of like her nephews and things. And
Yeah.
it was just really, and to think of now, it is a choice, like you say, and they're
Yeah.
going for.
Oh, Julie, I didn't realize with your mom. The numbers used to be on the TV.
They would come up. The draft numbers would come up, and it would go by like your birthday to see somehow if you were
Oh, my
drafted. And I
goodness,
just
wow.
remember I was kind of little maybe, but but just her thinking, oh, thank goodness, it's not whenever you're at an eligible age,
Right.
you could have been drafted. And I just
My
remember something
goodness.
like scrolling on television or something. But
And
maybe I'm
Yeah.
forgetting that whole memory. But but it was
No,
just
no,
crazy
I'm
because
sure.
you were told to go, but nowadays,
Wow.
like you say, you
Yeah.
make the choice to go.
They
and
make the
Yeah,
choice.
yeah. Boy,
You
and we
know?
can't forget that. That
Yep.
is really
That's a big
something worth.
thing
Good
to
that you
have
brought that
the
up.
Kids
You
make
know?
that choice today.
Absolutely.
And when I don't know, like at the last few graduations, high school graduations, there's been like 6 or 7 in the graduation classes
what?
that were
Yeah.
going into the service because they
Yeah.
have them stand during the
Oh,
graduation.
that's true too. And I'm being neglectful. My godchild, kind of, I've chosen, her brother, which to me is like another godchild, but Zach Hurley of Chester is doing exactly what you just said, Bonnie, that I should have thought of that. That
Yes.
he's going to be right after high school entering into the service.
Yeah, there's
He's
a
trying to make the decision now which way to go, Air Force
Yeah.
or Marines. And but these are good children making big
Oh,
life
definitely.
decisions.
And they are
you know,
big
for us, so we
decisions.
can sit here and be
Right.
safe and not have to
I
worry
agree.
about,
That's it.
yeah, very important you brought that up. And something else that we've talked about that's coming up on November 6th, and I'm grateful that we don't have to serve and do what these veterans have done and are doing. But the one small thing that we can do is, if you haven't registered to vote, or if you were thinking about not voting, it's our pledge to all of you, get 10 people to get out and register to vote, encourage other people, and get out and vote yourself, because to me, that's a sign of respect to all of these men and women too.
Definitely.
I mean, that's honoring our country, serving our country,
agree.
so kind of that's something coming up November 6th.
Right.
know.
I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
You're going to be really busy.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
bit crazy. It is. Yeah.
That's a big thing
Yeah.
because people don't realize that they have the choice.
They do. They
And
do.
they got to get out there and make the choice.
Yeah, make the time for
You can't
it.
complain about something you don't go out
you
there
don't
and
vote,
do.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's many people that do that.
Oh my goodness.
You know,
I
and
totally agree.
It's
What you see too,
Yeah.
right? With all
Just
of the, with
yeah,
the
oh,
reporting
yeah.
and going
You know,
around the
Just
communities.
from the standpoint when you go and collect, the vote counts, and you go, wow, that's not a very big number. Where are all the
No.
people?
My goodness.
It's sad.
Why did they come
that's-
out? But
yeah.
it's a simple thing you can do to make a big difference.
Yeah.
Even though you're not making a big difference, you really are.
You really are. Every vote counts, and as
Yeah.
we say, many elections have been lost by one vote, and it
Yeah.
could be yours. And so, we have to take it seriously. There's a lot of excitement with the 18-year-olds out there asking about coming in to vote. We've been so busy in our office with new people coming in to register to vote, that our supervisors have been in there each day helping
Wow. That's
to
great.
register
That's a
voters.
good thing.
So I think it's a
So
really
you're seeing
good
some
sign.
energy in the town.
Yeah,
That's
a
great.
lot of good
That's a good
energy
thing.
with it. So, and we have about 18,000 registered voters, and so we're hoping, if we got 10, 12,000 out to vote, I think it'd be phenomenal. So,
Very
and in other
nice.
communities too. But yeah, voting, on again November 6th. We hope we see you there. Polls open at 7 in Londonderry and close at 8 o'clock. Most communities, I think Derry is the
Seven.
same.
Same.
And if not, just call your town hall or city hall and get the information. And but and most towns and cities will help in any way they can, to make sure that you have that opportunity to vote. Even if you're homebound or in a hospital or something, let us know. So anything else? We've talked about that. Yeah, I think
Kind of good.
Boy,
It was a good talk about that.
it
and
really
a little bit
was.
about everybody,
Yeah.
what experiences they've had
Good.
with people.
yeah, it makes you think. And we thought we've asked Julie again, kind of put her on the spot.
you were
but
kidding. No, I'm just
since you love her beautiful voice, we all do, that we asked her if she would end with a song.
I only
for
have
us.
one more patriotic song in my repertoire.
We have a little
we have
special
a
shout
new
out.
special person doing the camera tonight, and it's Leah.
Come on up, Leah. Come right up
Thank
here.
Leah
Yay!
Say
for
something.
doing this for us tonight,
Yes.
or we wouldn't be
We
here.
would not be here.
So
So,
thank you, Leah. And how old are you?
I'm in 5th grade.
Oh, wonderful.
Fifth grade, Leah. At what
And you'll-
school?
Matthew Thornton.
At Matthew.
Do you like being behind the camera?
Yeah.
Have you done the media camps here? Really? That's
Yeah,
cool.
that's
That's a great
wonderful.
program.
That's good.
Is this your
See?
first time? Leah, you never know in life. Like, you could be doing this on a big movie set someday, and you'll remember us and being on the Londonderry View. And you'll be,
Let's say that together.
but the Londonderry View,
View.
Or and we could be in California then, who knows?
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so
Syndicate ourselves.
yes. So Leah, we cannot
you.
thank you enough. It means the world that you're
Thank you
here.
for filming
So
us.
thank you so much.
do
Yes.
a good
So
job.
yes, we hope we'll
Good
see you
job.
again here too. Thank you very much, honey.
Okay,
We
honey.
appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we should have given a shout out to our Al Sipek that's behind the scenes as a veteran
Veteran.
too, because we can't
That's to
neglect
you,
that. It's
Al.
those humble heroes who do so much behind the scenes, like our Al. So, Julie,
Are
we
you
would love you
ready?
to sing.
I guess I am. To all the veterans out there, we honor you and for all your service, and just thank you. And we will be there on November 11th as well to say more thank yous to all of you. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountain to the prairie, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
That was beautiful.
Thank you, ladies.
Absolutely.
beautiful.
And we'll end tonight on that beautiful note, literally.
Thank you for having me again.
And
been
Julie,
a pleasure.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
It is a pleasure
And we'll
to
be
here.
seeing more
Oh,
of
boy.
Yes,
you.
we
I'll be back.
will. We will. And thank you to our vets all over the world, all over the country, and here in our town. And we say good night. Thank you. And we have just one final thought that we'd like to mention before we say good night. So, Al,
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me here for a couple of brief minutes.
thank you. This is
One
important.
thing I always see is that everybody at all these Veterans Day ceremonies go through the list of the wars that Americans have served in, and the forgotten infantrymen at the end of World War I in 1918, our servicemen went to Russia, and they served to guard the Trans-Siberian Railway, and they didn't leave till 1920, and they were in horrible conditions, and everybody seems to forget that because everybody thinks in 1917 they had the Russian Revolution. Well, that didn't mean the Soviet state was formed. There was the White Army that opposed the communists, and they didn't really have a complete Soviet state until the 1920s.
My
So it took that long for them to consolidate power. So we had some infantrymen that served there guarding the Trans-Siberian Railway, and they actually fought the Bolsheviks.
And Al, I had no idea.
Me
I have to
neither.
be. I had no idea.
Most people don't know that we
Right.
actually had troops in Russia. And I may be wrong, but I had heard that when Khrushchev talked with Kennedy, he mentioned at least, we never invaded your country. And that's hearsay from somebody else that told me that, but it's conceivably possible because it really truly happened. So.
Oh, my goodness, that's important because that's what this is all about tonight, remembering all of the people that do so much behind the scenes, our veterans. And Al, you're another. We started with Julie, we should end with you because Al, you're a veteran. You do so much for this community constantly behind the scenes. We can text, email, beep you anytime, and you are there no matter what you have going on in your life. So you are the epitome of what a veteran is and does for our country and each of us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
having
Good
me
night.
on.